Black has hit 10 times in a row, and right now you feel you surely have red in your hands. You are standing at a roulette table. Warm yellow light spills across the green felt like a calm lake. The small ball spins along the rim, clicking steadily like a clock, tapping lightly against the restlessness in your chest. On the overhead display, the recent results flash. Black, 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 black. 10 dark dots in a perfect line. The air is thick with waiting. The person on your left nudges your elbow and whispers, 10 blacks already. This one is red for sure. You nod, although you have not truly thought it through. Somewhere inside you, a door has creaked open. It feels as if the universe owes you one red. You place a small bet. Just to test it, the dealer sets the ball in motion. The wheel starts again. Your nerves are stretched like strings, yet your face stays calm. You want to look savvy. You want to believe you are not rushing. 10 blacks. The odds must balance. You tell yourself that and feel soothed. The ball hops once, then again, slowing, and drops into its final pocket. Black. A breath escapes. On the screen, a fresh black dot glows like a quiet reminder. You swallow. It is fine. Next one. You raise the wager, just a little, to make it back. From the very beginning, the game has gently shifted borders inside your mind, from curiosity to expectation, and from expectation to rationalization. You begin to use words like balance, due, and probability to calm the growing jitters. But there is a deeper whisper inside those words. I have stayed here long enough to deserve one red. You do not call it greed. You call it fairness. The ball spins again. This time you almost stop breathing. You no longer hear the background music or the clipped laughter behind you. There is only the metal ball scraping the track, making a steady hum that almost lulls you. When it stops, your chest stalls for a beat. Black. Someone chuckles. Someone else curses under their breath. Heat climbs into your ears. No one forces you. No one drags you into the next round. But there is a force, soft and skillful, nudging you forward. The longer the run of black, the closer red must be. You step back half a pace, trying to observe. You know the textbook line. Each spin is independent. But in real life, that independence is hard to believe. The feeling of it is due is too convincing. You glance at the history display, the thing casinos always mount exactly at eye level. They do not say a word. They merely remind you of what happened. But that reminder pushes your brain to draw a line, a sequence, a story about payback, about natural fairness, about an ending that must be near. You think you are analyzing. In truth, you are storytelling. 12 blacks already. If red is not next, then surely the one after you hear yourself say it. And right then, another thought slips in. If you walk away now and someone else steps in, bets on red, and wins. Would all the waiting you have done just fall into someone else's hands? Reason smirks. What waiting? This is random. Your feelings do not smirk. They speak softly, gently. I have invested time, attention, and emotion. At the very least, I deserve one more try. You return to the table. This time you place red with conviction. You no longer whisper test. You call it probability. You tell yourself that the longer the black streak stretches, the more likely red seems. You know that seems is not right, but it helps you breathe. The dealer spins the wheel. You hear your heart clearly, beat by beat. The ball pops up, drops down, skims past red pockets, and settles into another black. Your heart does not drop anymore. It just feels empty. You do not yell. You do not slam the table. You simply nod, as if you just received a polite refusal. You add more money. Just a little. This time it must be. In the crowd, a few others look like you. They huddle, trading sympathetic glances like travelers sharing the last of their water at a roadside stop. Everyone is waiting for a cosmic balance no one can see. The casino does not argue with you. It lets you argue with yourself. You are not alone. Belief in payback is very human. Life is often unsteady, so you learn to lean on some model that makes you feel safe. You believe that rain and sun will trade places, that hardship will yield to ease, that failure will be followed by success, like a pendulum nudged to one side that always returns to the middle. Those stories help you live, help you continue. But here at this round table, where each spin does not remember the last, those stories become a narrow wooden bridge over a drop. Every step you take onto that bridge creaks in ways you cannot predict. You squint. You want to see a sign. The human brain is very good at this, finding patterns in clouds, in rainfall, in random strings of numbers. A streak of red flickers past, and you swallow hard. There, it is coming. But then it is not. The scariest part is not losing. It is losing in a way that felt perfectly reasonable in that moment. You can explain it to yourself, to the person next to you, with words that sound solid. That very reasonableness reassures you to continue. You think about walking away, just a little more. Make it back, then leave. The make it back mindset is a hook that slips into your mind. It pulls you gently, slowly, without pain. And because it does not hurt, you lower your guard. The casino knows this. It does not need to shout in your ear. It only needs to let you watch the black run grow by one more dot. You do the rest. You imagine a reversal. You sketch a curve bending back to the average. You trust the slingshot of the universe, that what stretches far must snap back. The ball spins, spins, spins. In that steady sound, you hear a distant voice. Each spin is independent, but that voice is wrapped in a sweeter story. It is time. You close your eyes for a beat and wonder, if you were born in a world with no history display, would you still believe red is due? The question passes like a breeze, then vanishes, leaving you with one simple heavy decision. Stay for one more round. You open your eyes just as the ball drops. A thin hush threads through the crowd, and then black. No clapping, no cheers, only you and the screen with one more dark dot lengthening the chain. You feel tired, not because of the money, because the story you told yourself is beginning to contradict itself. If everything is independent, why do you still believe in balance? If each spin forgets the last, why do you still feel entitled to red? You take a long breath. Your hand hovers over the betting layout, then stops. You suddenly understand. The trap is not in the wheel. It is in a very human and very gentle habit of storytelling. A habit that leans against you, speaks in your voice, wears the mask of your logic. It never forces. It only suggests. But each suggestion is one more step across that thin wooden bridge. You glance up at the black streak one last time. At the edge of your vision, the lights still glow softly. The music is still warm. And somewhere you hear yourself whisper, "Just one more." You are still there. The screen still flickers, a long column of solid black, like a spreading ink stain across a page. With every new dot, your heart tightens, and yet a vague conviction grows stronger. It cannot stay black forever. In your head, you draft an imaginary spreadsheet. If each spin is 50-50, then 15 blacks in a row must be extremely rare. Therefore, you tell yourself you are standing right before an inevitable balance. But that spreadsheet has a hole. You are adding up what has happened, instead of accepting that the future does not care about the past. The steel ball remembers nothing. It does not feel guilty for making you lose so many times. Your brain is different. It remembers. It creates patterns. It clings to streaks as if they were prophecies. The man beside you sighs. He puts a large bet on red, his eyes taut, his hand trembling slightly. He is probably thinking what you are thinking. Everyone around you is wrapped in the same illusion. If the streak is long, a reversal must be near. You see yourself in him. A mirror, another version of the same belief. Strangely, it comforts you. At least I am not the only fool. The ball spins. Time slows. Each revolution sounds like the same question asked again and again. Is it now? You clench your fist, hoping for release. When the ball stops. Black again. The man drops his face to the table, his shoulders shaking. You sit still. The loss no longer feels like a cut. It is more like a numbness. You do not cry out. You do not complain. You just feel empty, as if you stepped deeper into a dark tunnel. Yet that emptiness kindles a new idea. The more black there is, the closer red must be. Just hold on a little longer. That is when you notice the fine line between reason and feeling. Reason reminds you each spin is independent. Feeling suggests the longer the streak, the surer the color change. That feeling speaks in a gentle, soothing voice, and you follow it. You add another bet, not much, but enough to feel you are trying to get back. In that moment, money is no longer real value. It is just a number, a bridge to carry you toward a fair ending. You are not playing to win. You are playing to prove that this streak must stop. You turn yourself into a guardian of justice for a game of red and black. As the ball spins again, you remember life outside the casino. How many times have you believed that everything must return to balance? After days of rain, you say tomorrow must be sunny. After a string of failures, you tell yourself success is close. That is how human beings soften fear, by inventing a hidden rhythm inside chaos. That very belief keeps you steady in life, but in a casino, it becomes an invisible net that wraps around your arms and legs. The dealer spins the wheel once more. The clicking hum lulls you. In your mind, a pendulum is swinging. One side is black, the other is red. The pendulum has hugged black for too long, so it must return to red. You trust that image. But the steel ball knows nothing of your pendulum. It drops into another pocket. Black. You are silent. The black streak is now long enough to feel personal. It is no longer a dozen spins. It is a shared journey. Each fresh black dot is a rung on a ladder. You have climbed too high to consider going back down. And in a quiet corner of your mind, a soft question rises. If I stop now, will someone else take the red that should have been mine? That question is the trap. It does not come from the outside or from the casino's voice. It comes from within you, like a sweet whisper. It makes you believe you are close to the finish, that if you quit, you will lose the reward you patiently waited for. You smile thinly. Reason taps your forehead. There is no reward, yet your hand still slides toward the betting layout. The streak goes on. The ball spins. The clicking becomes a lullaby. You know you are walking into a logical dead end. You know each spin is independent. And still you play. You play because something stronger than logic is at work. The story you tell yourself. When that story feels too reasonable, too gentle, you cannot bring yourself to stop. You realize that in this casino, the one in control is not the wheel. It is not the dealer. It is an empty space inside your own mind, where reason and emotion blur. That space keeps you seated, waiting for one more spin, and then one more. You step away from the roulette table for a moment, down a long hallway where yellow light pools over the thick red carpet as if to swallow your footprints. But the image of the black streak lingers like a looped melody you cannot mute. You ask yourself, why am I so sure it must change color? Why do I feel as if the universe owes me one red? That is one of the mind's strongest illusions, the illusion of fairness in probability, the bias psychologists call the gambler's fallacy. It is simple enough for a child to stumble into. If you flip a coin 5 times and it shows heads each time, most people will bet that the 6th is surely more likely to be tails, because how could it keep landing heads? That logic, so obvious sounding, is the doorway into a dead end. Because the truth is, the coin does not know how many heads it just showed. It has no memory. It has no intention to make it even. Each flip is still 50-50. Each roulette spin is an independent event, untouched by the rounds before. Your brain, however, is different. The brain is a pattern-hunting machine. Think about looking up at the sky. A few random clouds, and you see a dragon, a rabbit, a face. That was your ancestors' survival instinct. Spotting patterns quickly could help avoid predators, find fruit, and read the seasons. Hundreds of thousands of years of evolution turned the brain into a machine that attaches meaning to randomness. The problem is, in games like roulette or coin flips, there is no real pattern, but you still see them, still believe them, and still act on them. You sit on an empty chair and quietly watch the crowd. Across the casino, screens replay histories. Red, black, black, red. People stare, nod, and point as if cracking a secret code. They whisper the same lines you have thought. This run has gone on too long. A reversal is coming. You realize the casino does not need to persuade anyone. It only needs to show you data. You will compose the rest of the story yourself. And how powerful is that story? Powerful enough that you will lose more just to protect the belief that you are about to win. Powerful enough that you forget the simplest logic. If you walk away right now, the chance of red on the next spin is still 50-50, whether you are present or not. But you do not walk away, because the brain struggles with pure randomness. It longs for meaning. It wants to find fairness somewhere in the universe. You become a willing gambler, not only with money, but with your faith in balance. You recall a small childhood memory, playing rock, paper, scissors. If your opponent throws scissors 3 times in a row, you are almost certain they will switch to rock or paper next. What do you base that on? Nothing but a feeling. It cannot be scissors forever. But sometimes they throw scissors again, and you lose again. From very early on, you have lived with this paradox. From the roulette table to everyday decisions, that logic trails you like a shadow. How many times have you thought, after so much bad luck, good luck must come? How many times have you told yourself, I have failed so often that this time will surely work? Sometimes that belief lifts you up and gives you strength to continue. But other times, it leads you deeper into error, like a small boat rowing farther into an illusion. You chuckle softly. So the gambler's fallacy does not live only in casinos. It lives in life. It slips into the mornings when you open your wallet to see what is left. The nights when you wonder why love has not arrived? The days when you hope good fortune will visit as a deserved gift? You believe that any streak of misfortune must end. You believe that a long sadness surely signals joy nearby. The truth? Life offers no such promises. A streak of misfortune can last longer than you expect. Sadness can be followed by more sadness. Probability has no memory. Life does not owe you fairness. And yet, human beings cannot survive without believing that some kind of compensation lies ahead. That is the paradox. This very mistaken illusion is also what lets us keep going. You sit still and let that thought spiral through your mind. In the casino, it takes your money. But outside, sometimes it gives you hope. Caught between those two opposite scenes, you suddenly find yourself stuck in the middle, knowing you are wrong, yet unable to let go of the very thing that is wrong. You lean back in your chair, eyes half closed. The black streak in your memory blurs, but the feeling remains clear, the feeling that things must balance. And you ask yourself, why do I believe in this fairness so much? Where does it come from? In mathematics, there is a concept called the law of large numbers. It says that when you repeat a random trial enough times, the average frequency approaches the true probability. Flip a coin millions of times, and you will see heads and tails come out in roughly equal amounts. But here is the trap. That law is only true over an enormous collection of trials. It does not say, after 10 heads, the next one will surely be tails. Your brain, which hates waiting, trims that law into an easier version to swallow. A long streak means the next outcome must flip. That is a dangerous simplification. Psychologically, you are also pulled by an older belief, faith in cosmic fairness. From ancient times, human beings needed to believe that the world has order. If you till the soil diligently, you will harvest. If you do good, you will be rewarded. If you suffer for too long, happiness must be waiting. Without that belief, few could bear life's uncertainty. But reality is sometimes colder. Some sow all their lives and reap nothing. Good people still meet misfortune. And there are gamblers who sit all night before the wheel and never see the red they think they deserve. You open your eyes and see a middle-aged woman placing a bet. On the screen, the red-black sequence pulses like a troubled heartbeat. She watches intently, as if reading a hidden message in the numbers. Perhaps she believes the moment has come. And you realize, people would rather believe a false story than live with meaningless randomness. In philosophy, this paradox whispers a different question. Can we live without telling stories? Every belief, every memory, every hope is woven into a story. I failed yesterday. I suffer today. But tomorrow I will succeed. That story keeps you moving. But the story is not always the truth. It is a frame you build to understand the world. When you press that frame onto independent events like coin flips or roulette, you wander off course. You recall another mathematical example, the illusion of randomness. If someone writes a sequence of zeros and ones at random, most readers will doubt it is truly random. Real randomness often contains local clumps. For example, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, or 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. People see that and say, impossible. There must be a pattern. Someone is arranging this. In reality, those long runs are exactly what true randomness looks like. Ironically, you see fake where it is real, and real where it is fake. Suddenly you think about your life. How many times have you waited for balance? How many times have you believed that after repeated failures, a reward must come? But perhaps life is like roulette. It does not know how many times you have lost. It does not keep score. Each new day is an independent spin. When you grasp this, you feel a lump in your throat. It both strips away hope and reveals a harsh truth. The universe owes you nothing. Then, with one slow breath, you also feel lighter. If the universe does not owe you, you do not have to chase it for payment. Every spin is new, complete, untouched by the past. Perhaps that very independence is the only true fairness. Everyone enters the next round with the same probability. No one gets favored. You smile faintly. Inside this paradox sits a reversed truth. The very false belief that made you lose is also what helped you survive the dark days outside. Without faith and balance, you might have quit long ago. Human beings need illusions to go on, yet must stay alert enough to know which are illusions. That tension creates the long nights, the runs of bets, the spinning wheel that keep drawing you in. You look back at the casino. The lights, the clacking metal ball, the low buzz of voices, all seem to whisper the same lesson. Randomness does not care about your beliefs, but your beliefs decide how you respond to randomness. You stand up and walk slowly back to the roulette table. In that moment, you notice something strange. The more clearly you understand the rules, the more powerless you feel. You know, each spin is independent. You know, a long black streak does not bring red any closer. You know all of this. And still, a craving rises in your chest that you cannot quite resist. Next time must be different. This is the climax of the paradox. When the logic in your head and the feeling in your heart clash, you enter a dead end. The brain splits in two. One side analyzes coldly, the other whispers with hope. You stand in between, unsure which to trust. You remember a famous psychology experiment. Volunteers watched a coin flipped 10 times, landing heads every time. Then they were asked, "What is the chance of tails on the next flip?" Most answered, "Greater than 50%. They knew the correct answer was 50-50, but their belief in balance pushed them elsewhere. In other words, they opposed their own knowledge. And that is exactly what you are doing. You look at the roulette wheel. The metal ball's rhythm sounds like an eerie melody. You ask yourself, if I leave now, that streak will go on without me. But if I stay, at least I might witness the reversal. So, what should I do? This is the subtlest trap. It does not force you to bet. It plants a question that will not let you walk away. Philosophy offers a familiar image. Buridan's donkey. It stands between two identical bundles of hay, and unable to choose, hesitates until it starves. You suddenly see yourself in that donkey. You stand between two choices. Reason says, stop. Feeling says, one more time. Stuck in the middle, you cannot move. You sigh. The feeling is familiar. Outside the casino, you have lived it too. The times you wanted to end a relationship yet hoped, tomorrow will be different. The times you failed repeatedly yet told yourself, next time luck will turn. Reason tells you to let go, the heart refuses, and you stand still, held fast by the contradiction. You glance around. The others are the same. Their eyes cling to the screen where the red-black chain stretches into a story with no ending. They know the game is random, yet they believe in signs. They know they may lose, but they stay seated. And here you finally understand. The paradox is not only in the game, it is in human nature, because human beings do not live on facts alone. Human beings live on stories. When the story is strong enough, it makes you ignore logic. The story that after rain comes sun, after hardship comes ease, After black comes red. You know it is not guaranteed, but you still need it to take the next step. You close your eyes. Two voices speak at once in your head. Each spin is independent, and it is time. One is mathematics, the other is the heart. You, like a small boat carried by two opposing currents, can only drift with the swirl. In that moment, you realize, truth does not always set you free. Sometimes knowing the truth only deepens despair. If there is nothing left to believe, what will carry you forward? You open your eyes. The wheel turns the same. The ball clicks through the pockets with a short tune that repeats forever. You know the truth by heart. Each spin is independent. Yet the paradox is this. The more you repeat it, the more a quiet rebellion rises inside you, a longing to believe the opposite. That is the blind spot of thinking. You try to use logic to climb out, but each step drops you further into the trap. The moment you tell yourself, the chance is still 50-50, another voice whispers, yes, but with a streak that long red must be near. The two voices argue in turns, and you are caught between them. You cannot deny independence, and you cannot shake the feeling that it is due. You look around. The room is full of people just like you. Eyes tense, hands trembling slightly as they bet. Each carries a private story. I have lost too much. This one must win. I have waited long enough. My chance is here. They do not see that these are all versions of the same illusion. And when you see them, your own belief hardens. It cannot be that everyone is wrong. Yet reality is colder. Roulette does not care about the crowd. It promises nothing to anyone. But your brain refuses a world that empty of meaning. It wants order, rules, fairness. So it plants markers to soothe itself. 10 blacks, 15 blacks, 20 blacks. And then it whispers, it cannot go on. You feel comforted by that sentence, even though you know it is false. In that instant, you remember ordinary life. After a string of failures, you tell yourself, I have suffered enough. This one will succeed. After sorrow upon sorrow, you soothe yourself. So much bad luck. Surely a bright day must come. Strangely, that false belief helps you endure. At the same time, it slides you into a slow spiral, where you not only wait for change, but are ready to risk everything just to witness it. A shiver runs through you. The paradox is this: the truth is too simple to accept. Saying each spin is independent sounds dry, cold. Your heart craves a prettier story, a kinder order. And you ask, if I refuse that story, will I have enough strength to live in bare randomness? Philosophy has a name for this: the existential abyss. It is when a person looks straight at life's absurdity, that there is no guaranteed fairness, no meaning handed to you. The strong accept it. Most turn away and choose a gentler story. Right now, you are the same. You know the logic, but you do not have enough courage to live by it. You understand. The paradox is not in the wheel. It is here, where you have recognized the truth and cannot live with it. The real trap is not the black streak. It is the open space in your heart where hope and reason wrestle. You look at the betting layout. Your hand trembles, yet you place the chips. You give a thin smile. This is no longer about money. It is a quiet conversation between you and yourself. And once more, you lose to your own logic, the very logic you kept repeating. You leave the roulette table and walk the carpeted hall where yellow light falls like a half-real, half-dream glow. But you are not escaping at all. The wheel is still spinning in your mind, each turn widening like a vortex. You realize the paradox is not confined to the casino. It casts a long shadow across your life. Think about love. After breakups and heartbreaks, you tell yourself, after so much pain, I will surely meet someone good. That sentence is the same as seeing a long black streak and believing red will appear. But love does not obey a law of compensation. A good person does not arrive because you have suffered. The other heart keeps no ledger. It may hand you one more mistake, as if it never recorded any of the earlier hurt. And still, you believe. You need to believe, or think about work. After years of failure, you tell yourself, I have tasted enough bitterness, this time must succeed. But reality does not care how many times you fell. It pays back nothing. The universe has no memory the way you imagine. And the paradox is this: the more you fail, the more you cling to the hope of balance. That hope helps you rise, and it also eases you into another loop. You slow your steps and look into a wall mirror. Your face looks tired, yet it still holds a strange glimmer of hope. Like everyone back in the casino, you carry a very human illusion, the belief that fairness is waiting somewhere ahead. And you ask yourself, if I stop believing in fairness, will I still have the strength to go on? In philosophy, Albert Camus called life absurd. Absurd because we crave meaning and the universe remains silent. Absurd because we yearn for fairness and reality does not grant it. When faced with that absurdity, most people choose to tell a gentler story. Goodness will win. After the storm, the sky will clear. Or after long rain, the sun must rise. That is not a doctrine of truth. It is a sedative that lets us keep walking. You let out a quiet sigh. Perhaps we cannot survive on naked truth alone. An endless run of black would break a person. We need to believe red will come, even if that belief is only an illusion. Yet the paradox sits right here. That very illusion makes us resilient, but it can also make us willingly lose everything just to wait for something that was never guaranteed to happen. You step out onto the balcony and look toward the distant city. The lights scatter like artificial stars, and you ask yourself, is this whole world running like a giant casino? Do people chase the hope of fairness while the universe turns coldly, never remembering us at all? A light breeze slides by with a slight chill. You know you have reached the height of the paradox. The truth is simple, and precisely because it is simple, the heart cannot bear it. To live, we must cling to illusion, tell stories, and search for fairness. You stand there, caught between two worlds, cold logic on one side, warm belief on the other, and you do not know which one will actually save you. You stand still, watching the city lights flicker in the night. Down below, thousands of apartments, thousands of lives, each with its own story. But if you listen closely, you will hear the same rhythm beating through all those stories. The belief that fairness is somewhere, waiting for them. In society, this paradox is not small like a single roulette table. It becomes the motor that drives the whole community. Workers believe that after long days of hard labor, they will be rewarded with enough. Students believe that after a string of tense exams, a better door will surely open. The poor believe that after generations of hardship, their family line will finally turn a corner. That belief keeps them moving forward, despite a truth that is often harsh. Some work all their lives and remain poor. Some students keep failing. And some families never escape the loop of scarcity. You suddenly remember lottery tickets. Buyers know the odds are almost zero, yet they tell themselves, I have bought so many times, this time it must be my turn. They are not buying only for the prize, but for the story that rides along. Life has been unfair for so long. One day fairness has to smile at me. A lottery ticket is not just a game of chance. It is a mirror reflecting the same collective illusion. The illusion that the universe keeps a ledger, that fairness will return to balance the scale. Politicians and power structures understand this psychology well. They promise, suffer today, tomorrow will be better. They paint a bright future like a red that is guaranteed to arrive after a long run of dark days. And the crowd believes, because no one wants to hear the cold fact that randomness remembers nothing. The crowd needs a story, a reassurance that after pain will come happiness. With that belief alone, the wheel of society turns again. You take a deep breath. A chill runs down your spine as you realize this entire world may indeed be a gigantic casino. People pack themselves around different tables. Money, status, love, happiness. They look at long streaks of failure and tell themselves, it is almost time. They keep investing, keep sacrificing, keep waiting. And whenever they grow tired, they seek comfort in those who are just like them. There is no way all of us are wrong. Deep down you know, perhaps everyone can be wrong. Perhaps there is no cosmic scale of fairness waiting anywhere. Perhaps every spin is independent, random, and cold. But without belief in fairness, society would stall. No one would want to work, to study, or to continue if they knew for certain that failure can follow failure with no promised reward at the end. That is the collective paradox. A mistaken illusion becomes a real engine. It is both a trap and a crutch. It can lull an entire generation to sleep, and it can also keep them from despair. You stand there, listening to music drifting from afar, and you feel as though you are seeing a much wider picture. From one small roulette table to an entire city, and then to all of humanity, everything circling the same fragile belief that fairness will come. You smile faintly, because now you understand that you are not only a gambler inside a casino, you are a human being among humans, sharing the same cognitive blind spot with billions of others. Perhaps that very blind spot is what makes us human. We know our illusions, and still need them in order to keep walking. You return to your hotel room and sit quietly in the dark. Outside, the casino's neon still blinks, smearing the window with streaks of color. But in this room, there is only silence and the sound of your heart. You carry a hard question now. If the universe remembers nothing, if it compensates no one, then what do I have left? In that moment, you place your hand on your chest and feel the steady beat. The body still works. The heart still pumps. The lungs still breathe. But where is meaning? You recall the rolling spins of roulette, that long line of black dots. Each dark dot is like a day in your life, stretched out, repeated, and cold. You once believed there must be a red at the end, a burst of light. But what if there is not? What if the whole life is only black? The question makes you shiver. It is no longer about money or games of chance. It is a question about existence itself. People believe in balance because without it, they would feel lost in a meaningless universe. They believe in karma, in cause and effect, in justice, in a fair returning wheel. The truth may be colder. The universe does not know who you are. It does not owe you one red or happiness or any reward. You lean back on the bed and stare at the white ceiling. A hollow feeling spreads through you, as if every story you ever told yourself has fallen away. For years you have held yourself together by believing in next time. Every time you fell, you said, "It will be different." Every time you hurt, you said, "Joy will come." Every time you lost, you said, "I will win later." Those whispers lifted you countless times, but now you are not sure anymore. If everything is random, why demand a different ending? The naked truth crashes over you. The universe owes you nothing. It does not owe love, success, or happiness. When you accept that, you feel small enough to suffocate. Yet inside that suffocation, there is a brief ease. If no one owes anyone, you do not need to strain yourself to collect. There is no scale of fairness, and perhaps that means you are allowed to set down the scale you have held so tightly. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids no longer shows red and black. It is only an open emptiness. That emptiness is frightening, but strangely calm. Inside that calm, a thought rises slowly. Maybe, instead of waiting for red, I can learn to accept the streak of black. That is not resignation. It is a different kind of awakening. When you stop demanding the universe to be fair, you start to see things as they are. A spin is just a spin. A day is just a day. No extra promise is needed. And right here, you discover a peculiar freedom. Freedom from the stories you used to weave. You lie still in the dark, your breath easing. Now the red-black sequence appears differently in your mind. Before, you saw it as a wager, a debt that had not been paid. Now it is only a line of dots. Black or red is only color. You were the one who gave them meaning. Black is loss, red is victory, black is sorrow, red is joy. When you see that, everything lightens. You remember the question you just asked yourself. What if my whole life is a streak of black? Before, that was your greatest fear. But now, looking again, you realize that even a long run of black can be beautiful if you stop comparing it to the red you keep chasing. A spin that lands on black is only a moment. It is not a promise. It is not a debt. It is only itself. That truth, though cold, brings a strange peace. You sit up and pull back the curtain. The city still blazes as if it never sleeps. Those lights do not decide which color is right or wrong. They simply shine. And you realize life is the same. It does not always compensate. It does not always lead you to a fair red at the end. It simply unfolds. A sad day, a happy day, a failure, a success. Each is just a small dot on a larger canvas you have not fully seen. In that instant, you feel the difference between waiting and being present. When you wait, you constantly attach a projected meaning to the present. If today is black, tomorrow must be red. When you are present, you simply see, today is today. No promise required, no balancing act. You smile softly, because that turns out to be much easier to breathe with. You think about your life. How many times you have grown weary from believing you must be repaid after suffering. How many times you have felt empty from expecting a red that never arrived. But if you stop waiting, if you stop calculating, then each day, black or red, is complete. Now you begin to see. The only real fairness is not in outcomes, but in whether you are present for each moment. You close your eyes once more. There is no red-black sequence in your head now, only the sound of your breathing. And you realize that what you have been seeking all along was not a red to balance things, but the calm to live even when it is all black. That is where the paradox lives. When you no longer demand fairness, life feels fairer than ever. When you stop waiting, every moment feels full. When you do not claim the universe owes you, you finally feel free. You sit by the window and watch the neon outside flicker like artificial stars. The city does not sleep. And it seems that human beliefs never do either. You ask yourself, why do we need our illusions so much? Why can we not live on truth alone? Existential philosophy once answered with a single word: absurd. Camus called it the gap between our hunger for meaning and the universe's cold silence. We need to believe that life has order, fairness, and answers. When we look for them, the universe remains silent. No promises, no explanations, no compensation. In that silence, an abyss opens. Facing it, there are three paths. Some turn away and seek gentler stories: religion, faith in karma, faith in natural justice. Some choose despair, let go, and treat life as an endless run of black. A few choose something else, accept the absurd, and still keep walking, still live fully, even knowing that enough. Now it must be read. The universe does not hear. And in that moment you are back between two worlds. Logic saying, everything is independent, and the heart crying, I deserve this. In that dead end, you understand why people invent illusions. Not because they are foolish, but because they need a reason to take the next step. Illusion becomes a walking stick, an invisible hand guiding them through the long night. It is not correct, but it helps us survive. The paradox is that sometimes the very wrong thing is what keeps us alive. You rest your head against the cold window frame. Awakening does not make you cheerful, but it lets you see more clearly. An entire life can be one vast casino where we wager faith and hope on random spins. Some lose everything. Some receive a brief reward. But in the end, the wheel keeps turning, for no one's sake. Yet in that emptiness, you discover something else. We do not need a red in order to live. We need enough courage to look at the black and keep moving. That is the kind of freedom no illusion can give. The kind only acceptance can offer. And you understand at last. Perhaps the only fairness the universe grants us is this moment. The chance to be fully present in each spin, no matter if it is black or red. You close your eyes and let the city's noise drift away, leaving only your steady breath and the soft knock of your heartbeat. In that quiet, you feel a clear tension. We need illusions to stand up, and we need awakeness to avoid being swallowed. This is the climax of the paradox. You see that you cannot abandon either side completely. You remember the faces in the casino, the man with trembling hands pushing everything onto red, the woman who nods as if she has seen a sign, the crowd following the long streak believing that fairness is near. They live inside that story, and the story keeps them going. But you also remember the hollow eyes when the black streak grows by one more dot. That belief, when betrayed, hardens into despair. You understand. No illusion is strong enough if you give it the power to decide everything. At this moment, you are standing at a fork in the road. One path is familiar. Keep believing in balance. Keep waiting for that one red to make every effort feel worth it. That path is easy and warm, but it also leads into an endless spiral. The other path is cold. Look straight at the truth that the universe owes you nothing, that the streak can stay black without changing. That path is lonely, but it might be where you learn freedom. You choose to pause right there at the fork. You do not fully believe and you do not fully reject. You simply listen and let two voices coexist. One voice of hope, one voice of wakefulness. The surprise is that when you let them both speak, you feel lighter. You do not need a final decision. You do not need to pick a side. You can acknowledge the absurd and still move forward with a modest hope. In the quiet, you recall a small image, the steel ball rolling and dropping into a black slot. A brief moment that carries no meaning at all. But if you stop all expectations and just see it as motion, it becomes beautiful in a different way. It is a perfect spin, complete in itself. And you suddenly understand, perhaps the secret is not to find a single red, but to see the beauty in every black. You open your eyes. The city is still bright, still loud, but inside you there is a different space, calm and wide enough to hold a paradox. You whisper to yourself, I do not need the universe to be fair. I only need to be fully present in each moment, whether it is black or red. This is a strange kind of freedom. Not freedom because you win, and not freedom because you lose, but freedom from the comparison game. Freedom from the invisible scale you used to clutch. In that instant, your heart settles, as if you have finally stepped out of the casino. Not with your feet, but with your awareness. The next morning, sunlight pours through the thin curtain, painting the room a pale gold. You wake up with no clacking of steel balls, no long run of black on the digital screen. The world outside is ordinary again. A rush of people, traffic sounds rising from the narrow street, the smell of coffee drifting from the corner shop. Even so, the conversation with last night's wheel is still perfectly clear in your mind. You step onto the street and merge with the crowd. Now you can see it plainly. The paradox is not confined to a casino. It threads through daily life. The shopkeeper believes that after a string of slow days, today will bring customers. The student believes that after many bad grades, the next exam will surely turn around. The tired man at the cafe table is probably telling himself, after all these failures, there will certainly be a moment when I get back up. You walk past them and smile softly. You know they are living inside the same story that broke open for you last night. The story of inevitable balance. You also know that story is both a trap and a cushion. Without it, people let go. Hold it too tightly, and people lull themselves to sleep. A few more steps, and you notice something else. Calm does not come from deleting the paradox, but from accepting its place in everyday life. You cannot stop someone from believing in the next red, and you cannot stop yourself from sometimes hoping for fairness either. But you can learn to smile when you catch yourself believing, and refuse to let that belief swallow everything. You sit down in a small cafe and order a cup of coffee. Steam rises, a hint of bitterness drifts by, and this moment feels so simple that it does not need to compensate for anything. It is only itself, a morning, a cup of coffee, and a quiet place inside your chest. You realize that perhaps this is the real fairness, to be fully present with what is here, instead of waiting for a red that may never arrive. You recall Camus. Imagine Sisyphus happy. That man is punished to push a rock up a mountain, only for it to roll back down, repeating without end. If he waits only for a release, despair is guaranteed. But if he learns to be present in each step, to enjoy the breath, the sun, and the strength of his muscles, even an endless loop can become a complete life. You take a sip, feel the slow fade of bitterness on your tongue, and think, perhaps I am the same. I do not need a single red to prove that life is fair. I only need to be here, right now, and that is enough. You linger with your coffee and watch people pass by the window. Each person carries a busy rhythm, yet if you look closely, you see the same thing in their eyes, a thin hope that tomorrow will be different. You smile because you understand that feeling more than ever. You wonder how to live with this paradox without being consumed by it. The answer may be in keeping a little distance. You can allow yourself to believe in a coming red, but not stake your whole life on it. You can dream of fairness, yet stay clear-headed enough not to treat it as a guaranteed promise. It is like watching a movie. You know it is not real, and you still let yourself cry, laugh, and care. You join the story, but you also know when to stand up and leave the theater. Out there, people turn to gentle sayings. After rain comes sunshine, bitterness ends, and sweetness arrives. You reap what you sow. These lines are like a warm blanket on a cold night. They help us sleep, but they do not necessarily describe the truth. If you grip them as absolute law, you will be disappointed. If you treat them as soft whispers that help you keep going, you can smile even when the rain has not stopped. You think of yourself in the casino last night. If you had known when to stop, if you had seen the black streak not as a debt, but as part of the game, you might not have felt so crushed. That is the lesson for ordinary life too. Do not turn every run of black into a certain reason to expect red. Let them be what they are. A few losses, a few sorrows, a few long days. Do not force them to balance out. You stand and step back onto the street. Morning sun spills across your shoulders, pleasantly warm. A quiet ease spreads through you as you realize life does not need to promise anything extra. It is already enough in this moment. You think the best way to live with the paradox is to smile at yourself for still needing illusions, without letting them steer everything. You can keep dreaming, and you can stay awake. You can believe that things will change and accept that today might still look like yesterday. You can wait for a red and also learn to love the black. Between those two poles, you find a truer balance. Not the universe's balance, but the balance within your own heart. You draw a long breath and flow back into the crowd. The traffic, the chatter, the everyday bustle, all of it is just a set of spins. You whisper, red or black, I am here, I am living. That is enough. By late afternoon, you wander down to the river. The water moves lazily, catching slanted strokes of sunlight. You sit on a wooden bench and watch the small ripples. A question rises. If everything is random, where does life's meaning come from? This is no longer about a casino or small bets. This is the largest question beyond red and black. The question of existence. When you admit that the universe owes you nothing, that fairness does not always arrive, you face a wide emptiness. That emptiness is frightening, and it calls to you. You recall the thinkers who faced that emptiness. Kierkegaard called it existential despair. Nietzsche spoke of the death of God, when old beliefs melt away and leave people wandering in a desert of meaninglessness. Camus gave us Sisyphus to show that even in a meaningless loop, a person can still choose to live fully. You look down at the river and think, maybe my life is just like this water, flowing without purpose. If so, why do I want to keep going? You realize the answer may not be in some grand meaning handed down by the universe, but right here in this very moment, when you breathe, when the breeze touches your skin, when you listen to the water. Meaning is not given. You weave it from small experiences. You close your eyes and let everything relax. No hope for red, no fear of black, no demand for compensation. You allow this moment to pass exactly as it is. Then you discover something simple. When you stop hunting for meaning, you begin to feel it. Not a permanent meaning, but the fragile meaning of living, breathing, and watching light on water. In that moment, you understand. The paradox does not need solving, it needs embracing. Humans both crave fairness and can accept absurdity. We need illusions to keep moving, and we need wakefulness to keep from drowning. Between those two, life appears whole. You open your eyes to a sky turning pale violet. Birds call each other home. Water whispers along the rocks. Everything is calm and does not need to promise anything. You whisper to yourself, maybe meaning is not in waiting for a red, but in being able to smile, even when the ball still falls on black. The sun is gone. Stars begin to appear, glittering like speechless eyes. You sit quietly by the river as a larger question rises. If life truly has no ultimate purpose, how can I create my own meaning? This question is ancient. People have asked it for thousands of years. When religious certainty wobbles and classical philosophies can no longer hold the heart, we start to ask, if the universe offers no promises, what do I live for? The existential paradox stands clear. There is no ready-made meaning, but people cannot live without meaning. You look into the darkening water and see your reflection stretch and blur across the waves. You understand that meaning does not need to be far away or grand. It can arise in small acts, cooking a meal for someone, writing a few lines to keep a moment, sitting beside the one you love without saying anything. Meaning is not delivered by the universe. It is created when you place your full presence in what you do. You remember the existentialists. Sartre said, man is condemned to be free. Freedom means there is no preset mold, no assigned purpose. In that open space, you must choose and create meaning yourself. It is both a burden and a chance. Without a given meaning, any moment you live fully can become meaningful. You think again of last night's casino. So many people sat there waiting for one red to make their losing streak worthwhile. If they stopped waiting and looked right at each spin, they might see something else. The pulse of suspense as the ball rolls. The brief human bond in a glance from a stranger. The small smile when the ball lands somewhere unexpected. Meaning does not live in the outcome. It lives inside the experience itself. Because they cling to the red, they miss it all. You raise your eyes to the sky. Each star is a tiny dot, meaningless in infinity, but tied together by us into constellations, myths, and maps. That is how people create meaning, not by finding it, but by weaving it from separate lights. The universe gives us dots. We draw the lines and write the story. You smile gently. You do not need to wait for a single red to make life meaningful. Meaning can be made at any time, inside any run of black. It lies in how you show up, how you love, how you look at the world and choose which story to tell yourself. You stand and breathe deep, letting the night wind brush your skin. You whisper, the universe owes me nothing, but I can choose to owe myself a life that I live fully. Night falls completely. You walk along the long street where electric lights shimmer on the pavement. The city is noisy as ever, yet inside you a curious stillness grows. You have made a strange journey, from a roulette table to the river at dusk to a street filled with light. At every stop, one question followed you. Do people need illusions, or do they need wakefulness? If I let illusions go, will I still have the strength to live? This is the climax. You can feel the tug of war inside yourself. On one side, you want to hold tight to a belief in fairness, that after a long run of black, a single red must arrive. That belief is like a small flame that warms you in the dark. On the other side, you have also seen the cold truth. The universe remembers nothing, promises nothing, and compensates nothing. If you keep waiting, you will repeat last night's exhaustion again and again. You stop at an intersection. The traffic light turns from green to red, then back to green. An endless loop, yet it has order. people follow it and trust it. You ask yourself, do we create loops like this just to comfort ourselves that there is a law running things? Because out there, in the vast universe, there is no signal that guarantees green after red or joy after sorrow. People are the ones who place that meaning there. In that moment you understand, illusion and wakefulness do not cancel each other out. They coexist like two heartbeats. You can believe the story of fairness and also be clear-eyed enough to know it is only a story. You can hope for a single red and also learn to smile even when the ball falls on black again. In the yellow light spilling across the pavement, you feel a strange freedom. Freedom does not come from certainty, but from accepting uncertainty. When you no longer demand that the universe be fair, you finally set down the heavy scale on your shoulders. When you no longer force yourself to win, you begin to feel small joys in each passing moment. You keep walking, hearing your footsteps strike the ground in a steady rhythm, as if every step is a spin. You do not know whether the next spin will be black or red, but you do not need to know anymore. You only need to walk, only need to be present. In that instant, you realize you have passed the peak of the paradox, from struggling between illusion and truth to accepting both and finding a new path, the path of letting go. You smile in the city night, a light smile, but a deep one, because you have just realized that you do not need a single red to prove fairness. Real freedom is being able to live fully even when the wheel keeps landing on black. You turn into a narrow alley where the streetlight's pale gold reaches only as a thin strip of brightness. Your steps slow, and you notice you no longer care about direction. It is strange. All your life you have searched for the right way, a single red to prove your patience worthwhile. But here, in this quiet alley, you no longer feel that need. Each step is simply a step. No reason required, no compensation required. Inside your head, two currents of thought continue side by side. One still whispers, there must be some kind of fairness. After much suffering, a happy day will surely come. The other quieter current simply says, maybe not, and that is all right. Before, you always tried to choose a side. Now you do not need to choose. You let them both stay and speak to each other. Surprisingly, you feel more at peace than ever. That is the realization. Illusion and wakefulness are not enemies. They are two arms that help you walk. Illusion gives you a flame of hope, so you do not collapse in dark days. Wakefulness gives you clarity, so you do not get swept away completely. One keeps you dreaming, the other keeps you steady. When the two become one, the paradox no longer tears you apart. You lift your head to the night sky. The stars are still sparse and quiet. They do not shine brighter for you, and they do not extinguish for anyone else. They simply are, silent and distant. You see clearly, the universe owes you nothing, but that very silence opens a kind of freedom. If no one writes your story in advance, you can write any story you want. You stop beneath a streetlight. The light falls and stretches your shadow across the old bricks. It bends, breaks at the edges, and overlaps the tree shadows. You smile because you see yourself in that shadow. No need to be perfect. No need to be right or wrong, only to be here. However misshapen its outline, it is still part of this moment. A gentle open space forms in your chest. No more demands, no more arguments. Only acceptance. Acceptance that life may be a long run of black. Acceptance that no fairness is promised. Acceptance even of those times when you still quietly believe a single red will come. In that acceptance, you find a freedom that nothing can shake. You think, freedom is not winning the game. Freedom is no longer being controlled by the game. With that thought, you move on down the alley, each step light, as if dropping one more burden. Night has settled. The alley leads you into an empty square. Only a few streetlights cast thin pools of pale light. You sit on the stone steps and lift your gaze to the sky. Once more, the story of the casino, of the red-black streak, returns like a slow-motion reel. This time it is no longer an obsession. It feels like a symbol, a metaphor for an entire life. You remember the moments you have passed through. The roulette table with its long, unbroken run of black. The city streets where everyone holds the hope that tomorrow will be different. The quiet river that flows, indifferent, yet suggesting a new way to live. These scenes string together into one journey, from illusion to disillusionment to calm. You realize this journey is not yours alone. It belongs to anyone who once believed the universe must be fair and felt pain when it was not. You exhale, and it is a relieved sigh. Because now you have learned something. You do not need a single red for life to be meaningful. Life does not need payback or balance. It simply unfolds moment by moment, like a river flowing, like a star shining, like a wheel turning. By being present with each moment, you discover a different kind of fairness, one that does not come from the universe, but from your own choices. You close your eyes and let the night air brush your face. In that instant, you see clearly. Illusion and wakefulness are not separate. One gives you energy to keep walking. The other keeps you from losing your way. You need both. When neither side swallows you whole, you are truly free. A church bell nearby rings out and hums through the night. You smile and whisper as if speaking to yourself and to anyone who is listening. Maybe the universe owes us nothing, but we can choose to be present. We can choose to live fully, even when the ball keeps landing on black. And perhaps that is the real red. You open your eyes and look into the wide sky. There is no guaranteed ending, no final answer. Only the old question remains, gentle as a reminder. If everything is random, what story will you choose to tell yourself? You keep sitting there on the stone steps as the night seems to cover everything. The city continues to move, but inside you, time slows. The pieces of this journey return like a mosaic. The endless black at the roulette table. The tired eyes of those who place their bets. The river's quiet drift and the speechless stars. They arrange themselves into a larger picture. The picture of existence itself. You recognize that every spin and every turn in life is an independent event. No attached promises, no cosmic fairness forcing them to balance out. But people, through desire, fear, and imagination, have woven stories into those events. Stories of balance, hope, and a tomorrow that will surely change. The paradox is this. That story both deceives us and saves us. You think of the times you fell down. Failure after failure, long days that felt meaningless. You believed that after everything, some reward must arrive. When it did not, you felt betrayed. Today you understand. No one betrayed you. You simply asked too much from a universe that is silent by nature. That silence was terrifying at first. It made you feel empty, small, and insignificant. But when you sit with it long enough, you feel something else. That silence is the space where you can write your own story. No one hands you a single red, but you can choose to see meaning in every black. No one guarantees happiness, but you can choose to be present in each moment and let it become happiness. You bow your head, hands resting on your knees. A small smile passes your lips. You know this journey has no ending in the usual sense. It only opens into a new way of seeing, a letting go. Letting go of the idea that the universe must be fair. Letting go of the illusion that a sure reward waits at the end. In letting go, you feel lighter, freer, and closer to life itself. You stand and look across the quiet square. Everything is ordinary, simple, yet glows with a new meaning. You understand now. Do not wait for fairness. Learn to be present within unfairness. Do not pin your hopes on a single red. Learn to smile even when the ball lands on black. You walk on, leaving the still square behind. In your mind, the old question lingers like background music. If the universe owes you nothing, how will you live? What story will you choose to tell yourself? You know no one can answer that for you. The answer will come from the steps you keep taking, from every spin you witness, from each moment in which you truly show up. In the darkness, you let that question remain, not to be solved, but to be a small lantern guiding your own path. You leave the square and walk slowly toward your lodging. The city has quieted. A few distant cars and a cold breeze thread through the trees. Each footfall sounds like a gentle, steady tap, reminding you that you are alive and still moving. You realize that this alone is already remarkable. This journey began with an endless run of black on a roulette wheel. From confusion, you moved through doubt, despair, and then a realization. Now, as it nears its close, you see something simple. You do not need a single red for life to have meaning. Meaning rises from the moments you live, whether they are black or red, bright or dim. You remember the eyes of those in the casino. They believed in some fairness, a reversal that must come. In them, you saw all of humanity, a persistent, stubborn crowd reaching for the good. You understand that perhaps no one escapes this paradox. What you can do is choose how you pass through it. Despair when illusion breaks, or smile because you can still keep going. You lift your face to the sky. The night is still deep. The stars are still sparse. No signal arrives for you. No promise speaks from above. You do not need them anymore. You have learned to light your own way with presence, because fairness is not waiting at the end of the road. It lives in how you walk each step. It lives in loving even without return. It lives in being patient even without reward. It lives in your ability to laugh even when the ball keeps falling on black. You pause at your door and rest your hand on the knob. A brief stillness, then a quiet message to yourself. Maybe the universe owes me nothing, but I can still live as if each day is a gift, not because it balances out, but because it is here. You step inside. The door closes, leaving outside a city of lights and a silent sky. The story ends here, but its echo remains. The echo of a paradox that never had a final solution. You let it stay, an open question for anyone who is listening. How will you live if no red is ever promised? What story will you tell yourself when the universe only watches in silence as you walk? Maybe there does not need to be an answer. The very moment you stop to ask is the moment you begin to live differently. My friend, if you have listened this far, then somewhere along this path, you have probably seen yourself too. We have all sat before some wheel in life, hoping, waiting, believing that after many blacks, a red will come. And then sometimes we are disappointed, and sometimes we are tired to the bone. But maybe meaning is not found in waiting for a single red. Maybe it lies in being fully present in every black. Maybe fairness is not something the universe owes us, but the way we choose to look at this life, softer, gentler. So before we close, I want to leave you with one question. If tomorrow is still black, can you smile and live as fully as you do today? The answer rests within you. And I believe that as long as you are still listening, still breathing, still daring to walk forward, then you already have enough courage to write your own story. Thank you for walking with me on this journey. If you felt touched, share this question with someone who might need it. And if you wish to continue walking together through life's other paradoxes, do not forget to stay. We will meet again in another spin of the wheel.